Today I want to talk about the mental side of dealing with an injury in sport, and specifically Olympic weightlifting, seeing that that is my sporting background, but also everything that I'm talking about today can be used in all sports.
Oh, you make me want to talk back to you.
I want to share with you some tips and advice as a mental performance coach who has worked with injured athletes, but I also want to share with you today my own experience as an elite level athlete who's been competing in elite level sport for over 20 years. Now, when an athlete gets injured, it's very important to obviously deal with the physical side of things, but most importantly, you have to deal with the mental and emotional side as well when an athlete gets injured. Because often, if you don't deal with the mental side of things when an athlete gets injured, it can actually prolong that downtime. When the athlete does bounce back, they are still sitting with these mental doubts and actually haven't really dealt with the injury itself. They might be physically healed, but they're still dealing with some mental battles in their mind, and this could be affecting their performance. Now, it's important to realize that when an athlete gets injured, you do go through denial, you do go through loss, because firstly, you are now not able to do the thing that you love every single day. When an athlete deals with an injury, they feel like this affects their identity. When they are injured, they don't know what to do with themselves, because sport is sometimes the only thing that they actually know. And often when an athlete does go through this loss and denial, it's often accompanied by depression and anxiety. Now, I want you to stay tuned till the end of the video, because I will also be giving you some tips on how to deal with anxiety and depression when an athlete does get injured. Now, when it comes to my own experience as being an athlete who has been competing for over 20 years, who's been injured, who's dealt with these things, and I know for a fact that it is not easy. Especially if you are working towards a really big goal. Like at the time I was working towards the Olympics, and I did everything right. My recovery was on point, my physical training was on point, everything was just going so well. And when the injury happened, it really felt like I'm in this place of loss. I don't know what to do. Yes, I was doing my rehab every day. I was doing my mindset training. So even if you do all of those kind of things, you do your rehab, you do your mental training, you still go through these negative stages. When you have an athlete who is very resilient, they are mentally tough, they just put their head down, get back to work, get back to rehab, because they want to get back. Now for weightlifting, they want to get back onto the platform. But again, this could be used for any other sport, back onto the field, back onto the mat, if you do martial arts, etc. What happens is, again, you don't deal with the mental side of things. And sometimes you recover physically, but like I said, you do not recover mentally. So you end up feeling like you're ready to be back onto the field. But as soon as something triggers how that injury happened, it could affect how you move. It could affect the technical side of things. It could actually just have you doubt yourself when you do the actual movement. And this is also where trusting yourself is so important. But again, if you have those tools to help you cope, it will make bouncing back from an injury just so much easier. Now, some other stages to consider when an athlete gets injured. You will feel angry, because at the end of the day, this is the thing again that you love. So being angry that you're injured is not a bad thing, but staying angry is. You want to, yes, be angry, this thing happened. Again, it's an emotion, you must deal with it, and then you need to move on. But the only way you are going to move on is if you do go through those stages of grief, but you also realize that sometimes these things happen and it's not the be all and the end all, and you can recover from it. Then athletes also go through stages where they start questioning themselves, and they will question themselves not once or twice, but sometimes numerous times a day. They will just think to themselves, especially when they go through their rehabilitation process, and especially if the physiotherapist or the doctor told them that you will be down for quite some time. They will question themselves. They will say, if only I did this, what if I did that? They keep playing back that injury and how it happened in their minds. And before you know it, this could often then lead to depression, because you feel down all the time, you question yourself, you feel negative, you don't feel like you can get up in the morning, you feel tired all the time, you just feel like you've lost that energy to do the things that you would normally do, or the things that would bring joy to your life. Now again, when an athlete does get injured, and again I'm speaking to weightlifters specifically, very rarely do you accept that this injury has happened to you. You go through denial, like I said. But the best thing that you can do is tell yourself that I am just going to make the best out of this situation. And again, it's not going to be easy. You need help, you need support, you need a rehab plan, you need a mental performance coach. And having this team behind you just to help you move through these stages and actually just help you get through this injury, not just physically but mentally as well, will definitely help you bounce back stronger. Now, also when an athlete deals with this anxiety and depression, often this happens because they feel like they haven't just let themselves down, but they've let the people around them down. They feel like they've let their team down, they've let their coach down, they've let their sponsors down. And at the end of the day, they feel like a complete failure. And I'm a big believer in saying that, athletes shouldn't be made to feel this way, because often injuries happen and there's no real reason for it. It just happens to some athletes, but at that time, an athlete actually needs support the most. But I also do know that in reality, in the sporting world, that's often when you do lose your sponsors, you do lose support. People that were standing by you all the time might not be by your side during this tough time. And that's why a lot of athletes also don't speak out about injuries or mental health. And I feel like this is something that should be made more public. I feel like athletes should be able to voice this. Athletes should be able to talk about their mental health and know that when they do, they will get the support to help them move on from this. A lot of times athletes are full-time athletes, so this is also their bread and butter. So if they get injured and they speak out about it, then if they get dropped financially or dropped by their sponsors, then that means that they don't have money, they don't have something to actually pay for things like physiotherapy, mental coaching, etc. And then athletes end up not actually doing that. And I feel like that is something in sport that has to change. Again, I want to create that awareness that athletes need this help, they need this support. And in order to help athletes bounce back and give the athletes the chance to show their real potential, but also so that the athlete can trust that if something does happen, they have the support from their federation, their sponsors, etc. Now let's talk about my 6 favorite tips when it comes to dealing with anxiety and depression when an athlete is injured. Now my first tip is, firstly, seek help from someone that you can trust. Speak to someone. Don't just keep this injury quiet. Speak to a coach, speak to a family member, speak to someone that you can trust, or speak to a counselor. And I know sometimes it's hard to go out and speak to your coach about this because you might be scared that you might be dropped from the team. So speaking to someone that you can trust, like a mental health professional, will really help you in this situation. Number 2, something to just actually help you deal with this anxiety, especially if you start to feel anxious, you start to feel like your emotions are starting to take over, you're starting to feel like your heart rate is starting to increase. It's very important then to be able to practice some relaxation techniques like deep breathing, muscle relaxation techniques, listening to music to calm you, all of this just to actually reduce your heart rate, reduce anxiety, and just to make you feel calm in that situation. Number 3, stay active. So when you're injured, do your rehab, do the things that you can't do. It gives you also an opportunity to work on certain weaknesses. So if you are a weightlifter and you injured your knee, do things like upper body training. So if you've got some upper body weaknesses that you need to work on, or you need to build a bit more strength in your shoulders, or just those kind of things. Work on the things that you don't normally work on, and work on those accessories, because actually having that and being able to still be in the gym and doing the things that you love, and it might not be your Olympic lifts, can still help you stay motivated during this time of injury. Number 4, set realistic goals, but also celebrate the small victories. By celebrating the small little victories can help you stay motivated during this time. So for example, you might have gone through a knee injury and now you've done your rehab training and you can start to bend your knee, or you can do a bodyweight squat. Those are little victories that you have to celebrate. Celebrate those little milestones, because at the end of the day, it might not be your big goal that you have achieved, but it is those little milestones that will get you back to working towards that bigger goal. And when it comes to setting realistic goals, what I mean with that is the physical therapist told you it's going to be 8 weeks. Make sure that you set a plan out with this physical therapist or whoever you're working with for that 8 weeks to give you an idea of how long it will take, and realistically ask them, what small little goals can you set in order to just make you feel like you are progressing, you are working yourself back to recovering. And the same thing with your mental side of things. Set little goals, and it might be saying that you are going to be visualizing for 5 minutes every day, or you are going to use this time to meditate, or you're going to do some progressive relaxation exercises. Use that time productively to work on both your mental side of things and your physical. Number 5, very similar to number 1, but I want you to seek the help of a mental health professional. This mental health professional will also help you with coping strategies to help you deal with this injury. They will also help you deal with the emotions that goes with this injury. It will be someone that you can talk to, and this will be someone that can just help you emotionally deal with the injury side of things. Yeah, you could be bouncing back stronger, or that could be your main aim, but as soon as you do the exercise that injured you in the first place, it could be triggering back those emotions, those thought of injury, and you want to be able to know that when you go back to your normal training, you want to be able to trust yourself. Now, number 6, this is probably one of my favorites and most underutilized mental skill of all, using visualization techniques. Now, visualization is such a powerful tool to use if done correctly, using all of your senses. So if you're injured, visualizing yourself healing, seeing that injury actually heal, whatever rehab stuff that you are doing with your with the expert or the professional, visualize that muscle or that tendon, visualize it recovering, visualize it healing, and then also visualize yourself back onto the platform lifting the weights that you were lifting or even more. By visualizing this, it will actually help keep you motivated, and it will also just actually help keep your skills fresh. So by doing this every day, you will be surprised that when you go back to normal training, it will almost feel like you didn't really even take a break at all. Yes, you're not going to just bounce back within the first week and do your old weights, because again, that will be dangerous and I wouldn't recommend that, but just being able to do that will just help you feel like you are still in the game and you still have those goals to compete. And when you get back to it, it's like tricking your brain into telling it, I am doing training every day. Guys, now I'd love to know in the comments below, what is your thought on mental health and injury? Which of these tips are your favorite? Which of these tips you will be utilizing? If you are a coach, which ones of these would you recommend to your athlete? Just want to say, guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I appreciate all the support. Please, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, ring that notification bell, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.